What would you do if a mother walked into a bakery and asked, "Do you have an expired cake for my daughter's birthday?" Most people looked away, but one quiet customer heard every word. What happened next changed that little girl's life forever and inspired an act of kindness that touched thousands more. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming and inspiring stories. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Now grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's get started. Emily Carter checked the small envelope in her purse for the third time before walking into Sweet Haven Bakery in downtown Chicago. Inside were $23 in worn bills and a handful of coins. It was everything she had left after paying rent, electricity, and buying medicine for Lily's asthma. She sighed quietly, wishing she could somehow stretch those few dollars into enough for groceries, gas, and the birthday cake her daughter had dreamed about for weeks. 8-year-old Lily skipped beside her, wearing a faded blue dress that had once belonged to her cousin. The little girl tried to hide the holes in her sneakers by brushing away the dust with the side of her foot every few minutes. Despite everything, she smiled brightly. "Mommy," she said excitedly, "do you think they'll put pink flowers on the cake?" "Just one flower would be enough." Emily forced herself to smile back. "We'll see, sweetheart." The truth was that she already knew she couldn't afford even the smallest decorated cake. Still, she couldn't bear to crush Lily's excitement before they reached the bakery. As soon as they stepped inside, the warm scent of vanilla, cinnamon, and freshly baked bread wrapped around them. Glass display cases sparkled beneath bright lights, filled with colorful cupcakes, chocolate cheesecakes, fruit tarts, and beautiful birthday cakes decorated with ribbons of frosting. Families laughed while choosing desserts, and children pressed their faces against the glass, pointing at their favorites. Lily's eyes grew wide. "They're beautiful," she whispered. Emily nodded silently, trying to ignore the lump forming in her throat. After waiting patiently in line, she approached the counter where a young cashier greeted her with a friendly smile. "Good afternoon. How can I help you today?" Emily glanced around nervously before speaking. "I'm sorry if this sounds strange," she began softly. "I was wondering, do you have an expired cake? Maybe one from yesterday that can't be sold anymore." The cashier blinked in surprise. Emily quickly continued before the young woman could answer. "It's my daughter's birthday today. I know I can't afford a fresh cake, and I don't expect anything for free. If you have one that's expired or about to be thrown away, I'd be happy to pay whatever little I can." The smile on the cashier's face slowly faded. She looked toward the display, then back at Emily with sympathy. "I really wish I could help," she said gently. "But our company policy doesn't allow us to sell or give away expired products. Everything has to be discarded." Emily lowered her eyes. "I understand," she replied quietly. "Thank you for listening." Lily walked over and slipped her small hand into her mother's. "It's okay, Mommy," she whispered with a cheerful smile that seemed far too brave for a child her age. "Birthdays aren't really about cake. We still have peanut butter at home, right? We can make sandwiches and put a candle in one." "I'll pretend it's a birthday cake." Emily's heart broke. She knelt and hugged her daughter tightly, blinking back tears before Lily could notice them. "You deserve so much more than this," she whispered. A few tables away, a man wearing an ordinary baseball cap and denim jacket looked up from his untouched cup of coffee. No one in the bakery recognized him. The customers saw only another quiet man enjoying his afternoon, but he was Daniel Harrison, the billionaire founder of Harrison Foods and one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs in America. He had come to Sweet Haven Bakery without security or expensive suits because he liked visiting businesses he invested in without anyone knowing who he was. It was the only way to see how customers were truly treated. He had heard every single word. When Lily suggested celebrating with peanut butter sandwiches instead of cake, Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. Memories he hadn't thought about in years suddenly came rushing back. His own childhood, when his widowed mother had worked 2 jobs and often skipped dinner so he would never go to bed hungry. He remembered birthdays with homemade cards instead of presents, and nights when they pretended everything was fine because hope was all they had. Watching Emily and Lily walk toward the door, Daniel slowly stood from his chair. His coffee had gone cold, but he no longer cared. He looked toward the bakery manager's office, determination filling his face. Without saying another word, he walked in, closed the office door behind him, and asked a question that instantly silenced the room. Who decided that kindness needs permission? The bakery manager looked up from his paperwork, slightly annoyed by the unexpected interruption. "I'm sorry, sir," he said politely. "Can I help you?" Daniel Harrison removed his baseball cap and placed it on the desk. The manager stared for a moment, his expression changing from confusion to complete shock. "Mr. Harrison?" Daniel nodded. "I've been sitting in your dining area for nearly 30 minutes. I heard every word between that mother and your cashier." The manager immediately stood. "Sir, I can explain." "I'm sure you can," Daniel replied calmly. "Your employee followed company policy, and I don't blame her. But I want to know why a policy exists that forces good people to throw away perfectly safe food while a little girl leaves her birthday without a cake." The manager lowered his head. "It's for liability reasons, sir." Daniel sighed. "Sometimes we become so busy protecting a company that we forget why the company exists." Without another word, he walked back into the bakery. Emily and Lily were already reaching the front door when he called out. "Excuse me, ma'am." Emily turned cautiously. "Yes?" Daniel smiled warmly. "I couldn't help overhearing your conversation. Would you give me just 5 minutes?" Emily hesitated. "I'm sorry, but we can't accept charity." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not offering charity." He looked toward the bakery. "Staff, I'm asking for permission to celebrate a little girl's birthday." Within seconds, the entire bakery became busy. Bakers hurried into the kitchen while decorators gathered frosting, candles, balloons, and fresh flowers. Customers looked around curiously, wondering what was happening. Lily watched with wide eyes. "Mommy, what's going on?" Emily had no answer. 10 minutes later, the lights inside the bakery dimmed. The kitchen doors opened, and 2 employees carefully rolled out a beautiful 3-layer vanilla cake decorated with pink roses, butterflies, and the words, "Happy 8th birthday, Lily." Everyone inside the bakery began singing "Happy Birthday." Lily stood frozen, unable to believe her eyes. Is that really for me?" Daniel knelt beside her. "Every child deserves to feel special on their birthday." Tears filled Emily's eyes. "I don't know how to thank you." Daniel smiled. "You already have." After Lily blew out the candles, every customer applauded. Several parents wiped tears from their faces as children gathered around to wish Lily a happy birthday. For the first time in months, Emily saw her daughter laughing without worry. But Daniel wasn't finished. As everyone enjoyed slices of cake, he quietly asked Emily if she would sit with him for a few minutes. Over coffee, he learned the rest of her story. Emily had once been a registered nurse until a drunk driver injured her in a serious accident. Months of rehabilitation forced her to leave the hospital, and medical bills consumed nearly all of her savings. She worked part-time cleaning offices at night while caring for Lily during the day, but every paycheck disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. Daniel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he slid his business card across the table. "I don't believe people need handouts," he said gently. "I believe they deserve opportunities." Emily looked down at the card, then back at him in disbelief. Before she could ask what he meant, Daniel smiled and said, "I think it's time someone gave you and your daughter the fresh start you've been fighting so hard to earn." Emily stared at the business card in her hands as though it couldn't possibly be real. Daniel Harrison, Chairman and CEO, Harrison Foods. She looked up at the man sitting across from her and then back at the card. I thought you were just another customer." Daniel smiled softly. "That's exactly why I came here. People behave differently when they think no one important is watching." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry you had to see me begging for an expired cake." "You weren't begging," Daniel replied. "You were doing what every loving parent does, trying your best for your child." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Lily was across the bakery laughing with a few children she had just met, proudly showing them the small birthday crown one of the employees had made from colorful paper. Seeing her smile was worth more to Emily than anything money could buy. Daniel leaned forward. I looked over your resume before you came back from washing your hands. The manager printed the job application you filled out 6 months ago. Emily looked surprised. You applied here? She nodded. I needed a daytime job. I never even got an interview. Daniel frowned. A former registered nurse with excellent references couldn't even get an interview for a bakery position. Emily gave a helpless shrug. I guess they found someone else. Daniel turned toward the manager, who had quietly walked over. Starting tomorrow, I want every rejected application from the last year reviewed again. Sometimes the best people are overlooked because they're applying for jobs beneath their qualifications. The manager nodded immediately. Yes, sir. Daniel turned back to Emily. I don't think your future is behind a cash register. She looked confused. What do you mean? Our company operates employee health centers across the country. We're opening a new wellness clinic here in Chicago next month. We need someone with medical experience to help coordinate patient care. The position includes full benefits, health insurance, paid training to renew any certifications you need, and a salary nearly 3 times what you're making now. Emily covered her mouth with both hands. You'd hire me? Daniel smiled. No. Her face fell for a second before he continued. I'd invite you to earn it. You'll still have an interview, but unlike before, someone will actually take the time to see who you are. Emily laughed through her tears. That's more than fair. A week later, she completed the interview. 2 days after that, she received the call she had almost stopped hoping for. Congratulations, Ms. Carter, the recruiter said. Welcome to Harrison Foods. The months that followed changed everything. Emily returned to the medical profession she loved. The company paid for refresher courses and licensing support, and before long, she was confidently helping patients again. For the first time in years, she wasn't choosing between rent and groceries. Lily started a new school, joined the art club, and proudly invited friends over to an apartment that finally felt like home. She even kept the paper birthday crown in a memory box beside a photo of the cake that had changed her life. Nearly a year later, Sweet Haven Bakery celebrated its anniversary. This time, Daniel stood in front of employees, customers, and local reporters to announce a new nationwide program. Every bakery in the chain would donate safe, unsold baked goods each evening to local shelters and food banks instead of throwing them away. They also introduced a birthday promise. Any parent facing genuine financial hardship could request a simple birthday cake for their child at no cost. With complete privacy and dignity, the audience applauded. But Daniel looked toward Emily and Lily standing in the front row. They inspired this, he said. One little girl reminded me that kindness should never depend on a policy. After the ceremony, Lily walked over carrying a small box. I made these for you, she said shyly. Inside were homemade cookies she had baked herself. Daniel laughed. I've received expensive gifts from presidents, celebrities, and business leaders, he said. But these may be my favorite, Lily smiled. They're fresh, she said proudly. Not expired. Everyone laughed. Daniel accepted the cookies with gratitude, realizing that the greatest investment he had ever made wasn't in a company or a building. It was in a mother who refused to give up and a little girl whose hope had reminded everyone that a single act of compassion can create a lifetime of change.